Hey folks, how's it going? So yesterday morning, several cellular networks in the United States were hit with outages. Now this is being reported in mainstream news as nationwide outages. It's also in a lot of prepper communities, there's a lot of chatter going on about this and a lot of speculation as to what's happened. So let's really look at it. The main networks to be hit were AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. Now, it seems to have hit AT&T the hardest because they experienced the largest outage, um, and it seems to be sporadic for the most part. Some people have no service, some still do. Uh, some people still, even now, still do not have service and say it's going to be another 72 hours before they do. Uh, iPhone users, a lot of iPhone users were reporting that their phone went into SOS mode. But according to reports from Down Detector, it wasn't just AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. There were a lot of other networks that were hit. Curiously, one of the networks that was hit was Starlink. Uh, Google was also hit to some degree, uh, and there were a lot of others. Now, there hasn't been an announcement as to what's caused the outage. So all we can do is speculate. Again, there's a lot of chatter going on in the prepper communities, and a lot of people are pointing to uh, a couple of different things. I've found three potential things that, well, I found two things that happened simultaneously that I don't think have anything to do with it, but I will go over them real quick. Yesterday morning, there were two solar flares. A lot of people are saying that this could potentially have had something to do with it. I don't think that's the case because, to my understanding, solar flares typically only interfere with radio signals. They wouldn't take down satellites, networks, or cell towers. Usually, you need a major CME event for that. But then again, I'm not an expert. I could be wrong on that. The other event that happened that I haven't heard anybody mention is that yesterday morning at the exact same time, a large fireball was seen streaking across the northeastern part of the United States and even some parts of Canada. It was reported in Philadelphia and Maine, places like that. There was no reports of it hitting the ground, so I guess you could speculate that it could be a potential, I don't know, uh, maybe a high altitude EMP, but that doesn't make sense either because a high altitude EMP wouldn't be seen as a fireball flying across the sky. It would be seen as a rocket and then an explosion. So I don't think that's it either. My my guess is that it was most likely a cyber attack. Um, there's a lot of tensions between the United States and China, the U.S. and Iran. Actually, there's a long list of countries around the world right now that hate the U.S., particularly because of our stance with Israel. So, sorry about that. One of my neighbors has started burning. Um, so, it seems to me like it's more likely that it's a cyber attack. I honestly believe we were hacked in some way. That's bright. Let me get into some shade here. Ah, thorn. All right, so I believe it to be a cyber attack. That's my gut feeling. That's what happened. Um, Now we really don't know what happened. This is all speculation, so you have to kind of go with that. I don't believe they'll come out and say this is what happened. This is why all the networks went down. Uh, because there was such a variety of things that happened, a variety of networks that were affected. you know, if I expect them to come out with anything, it would be that there's this IP network or some sort of protocol or some sort of piece of equipment that was either damaged or failed during an upgrade or some maintenance or something of that nature. But again, I don't see that as being most likely what happened. My gut is telling me it was a cyber attack. So, what does this mean for us? Well, to put it simply, it means that it's another demonstration of how dependent we've become on uh, cell phones, digital networks, because almost every aspect of our daily lives is dependent on these things. I mean, look at your bank accounts. You can't perform any transaction now that doesn't in some way rely on computer networks or uh, cell networks or telephone lines. So this tells me that what we need to be prepping for is to be prepared to lose these systems of support, these networks that we've become so dependent on. It may not happen, but the possibility is always there. Therefore, we should prep for it, right? How do you do that? Well, in the case of these digital networks, think in terms of money. You know, every transaction is done over the internet now, over computer networks, and you know, you've got debit cards, credit cards. If you do wireless mobile banking, that's done over cell networks and computer networks. Even banks, when they complete these transactions, they're using networks themselves. It's becoming more and more a digital thing and less physical changing of hands of dollars. So you need to be able to provide your own food for an extended period of time. My recommendation is 6 months to a year or more. You need to be able to provide yourself clean drinking water for that same period of time. You need to be able to provide yourself medical care because in the event that one of these networks goes down, you need to be able to provide care for the simple fact that even if you could get to a doctor, even if you can get to a hospital, uh, a lot of medical care these days is dependent on digital equipment and technology. You know, checking you into a hospital, diagnostics use a lot of technology and a lot of networks. Um, Even in some cases, treatments or drug administration requires that. Not in all cases, but in some. So you need to be able to provide yourself basic medical care. You need to be able to provide defense for yourself because in the event that something like that happens, that networks go down, our digital and technological society collapses, it's going to create unbelievable chaos and destruction, in my opinion. Um, so there's that. Then we look at then we look at things like sorry, folks, lost my train of thought. Then if we look at communication, uh, which is the main thing that's bothering people right now. Okay, so if cell networks go down for extended periods of time, how are you going to communicate with family, friends? How are you going to get news? Uh, how are you going to do all of these things? Sorry about all the bright light. I'm trying to get to a better place. Uh, the the answer is really simple. There's a few obvious options out there. You've got ham radio, you've got CB radio, you've got GMRS, things like that. I'm not going to get into the whole ham radio license debate on here right now. Um, and that's a big debate in prepper communities. I'm not going to get involved in that right now. But those are options. that you need to be looking into, see if they fit what you need. Uh, News, shortwave radios, emergency weather bands, things like that. That's still going to limit the amount of information you can gather. But understand this, that people have lived for thousands and thousands of years without cell phones and without technology. We will still survive physically. The problem lies in our society that we've developed. Our society has become so helplessly dependent on technology that people can't even complete their day to day lives without relying on it in some form, one way or another. And that should be that's disturbing to me, and it should be very disturbing to you, because if any of these technologies fail, uh, if any of this artificial digital system collapses, it's going to create chaos. And understand it's the government's goal to eventually phase out cash and move to a completely digital dollar, because it's 100% traceable, trackable, and taxable, which is the most important part. There's only a few things you can do to get around that right now. Right now, you can keep cash in reserve at home, because if networks go down, you'll be able to use cash at grocery stores. You'll be able to use cash in private transactions, things like that. Uh, but again, in the near future, and my expectation is in within the next 3 to 5 years, we're going all digital. So my expectation is in the next 3 to 5 years, cash won't be worth anything anymore. You won't be able to use it, because there's going to be a lot of places that have stopped taking cash. There are already some banks that are refusing to take cash. So again, for now, while cash is still readily available and readily accepted, you can store that at home. But what happens when that's gone? Well, your options are very limited then. You have to resort to things like gold and silver to be used as a means of barter, so that you don't have to lug around large amounts of items and material and products. There's a big argument in the prepper community about that. A lot of preppers really hate gold and silver for some reason. I don't get it myself, but the other option is to stock up on barterable items so that you can trade with other people. And a lot of people go really into this, so they'll be stocking their basements and attics and spare rooms full of stuff to trade. The thing is, you don't need to be stacking or stocking up on items for barter that you don't use, particularly if you haven't fully prepped yourself for at least 6 months to a year. It's a waste of time and effort and energy to stock up on tobacco products and alcohol and things like that if you haven't secured at least 6 months to a year supply of food or medicine or medical supplies or water for yourself and your own family. But that's just my personal opinion. Uh, so prepping barter items, while I do see a place for it, it certainly shouldn't take precedence over prepping for yourself. Uh, the important thing, though, to me is building a network of people that you can barter with, people that you can trust, primarily, so that you can trade item for item, skill for skill, or gold, silver for whatever you need. And it needs to be a network of people, like I said, that you can trust. That is very critical, because in a grid down SHTF event, uh, expect to be taken advantage of if any way possible, because people are going to be desperate. You're going to be a target because you have something of value, regardless of whether it's a barterable item or whether it's gold or silver or what have you. So it's critical that you be able to trust the people that you network with, you barter with. So develop those networks now. Uh, and in the end, that's the best we can do. That's the best prep we can do, because we can't control the direction this world is going in, unfortunately. It's becoming more tyrannical, more socialist, where the government wants to watch, observe, track, and tax every little thing you do. That's not going away anytime soon. I don't care who's in office. Uh, so that's really all I've got right now. I just wanted to go over that little bit of news. I know it's been bothering a lot of people. A lot of people have been talking about it. They're speculating about World War III and cyber attacks and solar flares and everything in between. Uh, I expect the explanation will probably be a piece of equipment or something like that will be blamed. My gut is telling me it was a cyber attack with all the tensions in the world right now. And these are just a few of my ideas on what we need to do to be prepared in the event something goes down for either a long period of time or permanently. Uh, anyway, that's all I've got. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, folks, as always, stay safe, take care, keep prepping, don't get complacent. And until next time, I'll catch you later.